Imagine all the cities, forests, and mountains you have ever seen. Now imagine a place so vast that all of these could fit inside it many times over. This is the deep sea. It is a world that covers most of our planet, yet we know so little about it. It is a kingdom of immense scale, far larger than all the continents combined. Down here, the rules are different. The landscapes are unlike anything on the surface. We often think of our world as the land we walk upon, but the truth is, most of our planet is water. And most of that water is a deep, dark, and mysterious place that we are only just beginning to explore. The deep sea begins where the sunlight fades. It is a realm of colossal canyons, towering underwater mountains, and plains that stretch farther than any desert on land. If you were to take the tallest mountain on Earth, Mount Everest, and place it in the deepest part of the ocean, the Mariana Trench, its peak would still be more than a mile beneath the waves. This sheer scale is almost impossible for us to comprehend. It is a reminder that there are still great wildernesses on our own planet, places of profound mystery and wonder. Exploring this world is one of the greatest adventures left for humanity, a journey into the largest living space on Earth. When we look at a map of the world, we see vast blue oceans. But these maps do not show the incredible three-dimensional world that lies beneath the surface. It is a world of layers, each with its own unique conditions and inhabitants. The pressure increases, the temperature drops, and the light disappears. Yet, life finds a way. This is not an empty, lifeless void. It is a vibrant, living world, filled with creatures that have adapted to an environment more extreme than we could ever imagine. The deep sea is not a barren desert. It is a thriving metropolis of life, hidden from our view. The journey down into the deep is a journey into another dimension. The familiar blues and greens of the sunlit surface waters give way to an endless, inky blackness. Here, time seems to move differently. The pace of life is slower, more deliberate. It is a world shaped by immense forces, the crushing weight of the water above, the cold that seeps into everything, and the profound darkness. Yet it is this very environment that has given rise to some of the most extraordinary and beautiful forms of life on our planet. The deep sea is a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of life itself. More than 95% of the living space on our planet exists in complete darkness. This is the midnight zone, and below it, the abyss. It is a world without sunrise or sunset, a realm of perpetual night. Here, sunlight cannot penetrate the immense column of water. This vast, dark space is larger than all the forests, deserts, and grasslands of the world put together. It is Earth's final and greatest wilderness. For centuries, we believed this dark world must be empty, a lifeless void where nothing could possibly survive. We could not have been more wrong. Life is here, and it is everywhere. The creatures that live in this permanent darkness have developed remarkable ways to survive. Without sunlight, there are no plants to form the base of the food chain. Instead, life here depends on what drifts down from the sunlit world above. But perhaps the most wonderful adaptation is the ability to create light. This is called bioluminescence. Many deep-sea animals can produce their own light, creating dazzling displays in the darkness. They use it to attract prey, to find a mate, or to startle a predator. It is a silent, secret language of light, painting the eternal night with flashes of blue, green, and gold. Life in the deep has adapted to conditions that would be instantly fatal to us. The pressure is immense, hundreds of times greater than at the surface. It is like having the weight of 50 jumbo jets pressing down on you. The water is also incredibly cold, often just a few degrees above freezing. Food is scarce, and finding a meal can be a once-in-a-lifetime event for some creatures. Because of this, many animals have slow metabolisms. They move slowly, grow slowly, and can live for an incredibly long time. Some deep-sea sharks and fish can live for hundreds of years, silent witnesses to the slow passage of time in the abyss. Despite these challenges, the deep sea is teeming with life. From tiny, shimmering jellies to giant squid with eyes the size of dinner plates, The diversity is astonishing. Each creature is a masterpiece of evolution, perfectly suited to its extreme home. There are fish with enormous jaws that can swallow prey larger than themselves, and shrimp that spew clouds of glowing liquid to blind their enemies. This world may seem strange and alien to us, but it is a functioning, interconnected ecosystem. Every organism, no matter how bizarre it appears, plays a vital role in the great story of life in the deep. In the darkness of the deep ocean, sight is not the most important sense. Instead, sound reigns supreme. Water is a fantastic conductor of sound, carrying it for much greater distances than air does. A sound made deep in the ocean can travel for hundreds, even thousands of miles. This is how the largest animals on our planet communicate across vast empty spaces. The deep, resonant calls of a blue whale can cross an entire ocean basin. It is a world filled with a symphony of clicks, whistles, and moans, a complex language that we are only just beginning to understand. Sperm whales are masters of sound in the deep. They are the loudest animals on Earth. They dive thousands of feet down in search of their prey, the giant squid. In the total darkness, they use a powerful form of sonar called echolocation. They produce a series of powerful clicks which travel through the water, bounce off objects, and return to the whale. From these echoes, the whale can build a detailed picture of its surroundings. It can find its prey, navigate through underwater canyons, and communicate with other whales. Each whale has its own unique pattern of clicks, a sort of acoustic signature or name. It is not just the giants of the deep that use sound. Entire ecosystems can have their own unique soundscape. On a coral reef, for example, you can hear the crackling sound of snapping shrimp, the crunching of parrotfish eating coral, and the grunts and groans of countless other fish. This chorus of sounds is a sign of a healthy, vibrant community. Young fish and other creatures born in the open ocean can listen for these sounds to find their way back to a reef to settle down. The sound of the reef is like a beacon, calling them home through the dark water. This reliance on sound makes the deep ocean incredibly vulnerable to noise pollution. The sounds from ships, sonar, and industrial activities can travel for enormous distances, drowning out the natural sounds that animals depend on. For a whale that relies on sound to find a mate across an ocean, this human-made noise can be catastrophic. It can disrupt their feeding, their migration, and their ability to communicate. Understanding the symphony of the deep is not just a matter of scientific curiosity. It is essential for protecting this fragile world and the magnificent creatures that call it home. Far below the sunlit surface and the twilight midnight zone lies the abyssal plain. This is the true deep, a world that begins around 2.5 miles down. These plains are the largest habitat on Earth, covering more than half of the planet's surface. They are vast, flat and featureless expanses of mud and sediment, stretching for thousands of miles in every direction. It is a landscape of profound emptiness and solitude. The darkness here is absolute, a blackness that has never been touched by a single ray of sunlight. It is one of the most remote and least explored places on our world. The conditions on the abyssal plain are extreme. The pressure is crushing, more than 400 times what we experience at sea level. This immense weight would instantly destroy any land animal or vehicle, not specifically designed to withstand it. The temperature is just above freezing, a constant, biting cold that never changes. And there is no light, only the occasional flash of bioluminescence from a passing creature. It is a stable but incredibly harsh environment. For a long time, we thought that nothing could live here. It seemed too cold, too dark, and the pressure too great. Yet even here, in this seemingly desolate world, life persists. The mud of the abyssal plain is not sterile. It is filled with tiny organisms, bacteria, and worms that form the base of a unique food web. Larger animals have adapted in remarkable ways to this world of high pressure and low energy. The tripod fish, for example, rests on the sea floor on 3 long, stilt-like fins. It waits patiently for any small creature to drift by, sensing vibrations in the water. By staying still, it conserves precious energy in a world where the next meal is never guaranteed. Life on the abyssal plain moves at a glacial pace. Food is incredibly scarce, so animals must be experts at conserving energy. Their metabolisms are extremely slow, allowing them to survive for long periods between meals. Growth is slow and lifespans can be extraordinarily long. A creature living on the abyssal plain might only encounter another of its own kind once in its entire life. It is a solitary existence, but this vast muddy plain is not the end of the story. It is the foundation of the deep-sea world, a place where life endures against all odds, waiting for rare opportunities to arrive from the world above. In the deep sea, there are no plants. Without sunlight, photosynthesis is impossible. So, where does the energy to support life in this vast, dark world come from? The answer lies in a constant, gentle shower from above. This is known as marine snow. It is a continuous drift of organic material from the upper layers of the ocean. It is made up of dead algae, the remains of tiny animals, fecal pellets, and other miscellaneous bits of debris. As this material sinks, it clumps together, looking like flakes of snow falling through the water column. This slow, silent rain is the lifeblood of the deep ocean. This journey downwards can take weeks or even months. As the marine snow falls, it is consumed by a host of creatures living in the mid-water. Filter feeders, like the vampire squid, use long, sticky filaments to catch the falling particles. What is left continues its slow descent to the abyssal plain below. Only a tiny fraction of the material that starts at the surface ever reaches the bottom. But over thousands of years, this constant drizzle has built up a layer of nutrient-rich sediment on the seafloor. It is this sediment that provides the food for the animals living on the abyssal plains. For the creatures of the abyss, this marine snow is their primary source of food. They are detritivorous, meaning they feed on dead organic matter. This gentle rain provides a steady, if meager, supply of energy. It fuels a whole ecosystem of worms, crustaceans, and other invertebrates that live within the mud. They in turn become food for larger animals. The entire food web of the abyssal plain is built upon this connection to the sunlit world far above. Without marine snow, the deep sea as we know it would not exist. It is a profound link between two completely different worlds. The amount of marine snow reaching the deep can vary with the seasons. In the spring and summer in temperate oceans, plankton blooms at the surface create a huge amount of organic material. Weeks later, this productivity results in a feast for the deep sea. It is a time of relative abundance in a world defined by scarcity. This seasonal pulse of food can trigger breeding cycles and other life events for deep-sea creatures. It shows how interconnected the entire ocean is, from the sunlit surface to the darkest depths. The life of the abyss is tied to the rhythms of the sun, even though it never feels its warmth. The floor of the deep sea is home to a dedicated and tireless cleanup crew. These are the animals that live on and in the muddy sediment of the abyssal plain, feeding on the marine snow that settles there. They are the recyclers of the deep, playing a crucial role in breaking down organic matter and returning nutrients to the ecosystem. Among the most common of these are the sea cucumbers, or holothurians. These sausage-shaped relatives of starfish and sea urchins crawl slowly across the seafloor, hoovering up the sediment. They are like the earthworms of the deep sea. Sea cucumbers ingest vast quantities of mud, digest the organic material within it, and excrete the clean sediment behind them. In doing so, they constantly churn and oxygenate the seafloor, making it more habitable for smaller organisms. Some areas of the abyssal plain are dominated by them. Herds of thousands can be seen slowly moving in the same direction, grazing on the thin layer of fresh marine snow. They are essential to the health of the deep-sea ecosystem, ensuring that nothing goes to waste in this world of scarcity. Their slow, methodical work is fundamental to the recycling of life's essential ingredients. Another remarkable member of this cleanup crew is the giant isopod. Looking like a colossal version of a common woodlouse, these crustaceans can grow to be over a foot long. They are scavengers, equipped with a powerful sense of smell that allows them to detect the scent of a dead animal from great distances. When a fish or whale from the upper ocean dies and sinks to the bottom, it is a rare and valuable feast. Giant isopods will quickly converge on the carcass, using their strong jaws to tear away at the flesh. They can eat so much that they become too heavy to move, and can then survive for years without another meal. These bottom dwellers are perfectly adapted for a life of patience and opportunism. They include brittle stars with long, slender arms that sift through the mud, and strange worms that burrow deep into the sediment. Each has its own way of finding and consuming the sparse resources available. Together, they form a community that is incredibly efficient at processing whatever comes their way. They are the great recyclers of our planet, ensuring that the vital nutrients locked away in dead organic matter are not lost, but are instead made available once again for the great cycle of life in the ocean. The abyssal plain is mostly a flat, uniform landscape of mud, but occasionally something unusual falls from the world above, creating a unique island of life in the vast emptiness. One such event is a woodfall, when a large tree or log is washed out to sea and eventually becomes waterlogged. It sinks to the deep sea floor. For the creatures of the abyss, this is an extraordinary arrival. Wood is made of tough cellulose, which most deep-sea animals cannot digest, but certain specialized creatures can. A group of mollusks known as shipworms or teredo worms can bore into the wood, digesting it with the help of symbiotic bacteria. This sunken log becomes a thriving temporary habitat. The shipworms that colonize it create a network of burrows, which then provide shelter for other animals like crabs, shrimp, and worms. A whole community develops around this single piece of wood, a bustling island of activity on the quiet sea floor. Predators are attracted to the abundance of life, and a complex food web emerges. A large log can sustain such a community for decades. It is a rare but vital source of food and shelter, demonstrating how even a single event can have a profound impact on the deep-sea environment, creating hotspots of diversity. Shipwrecks are another type of artificial island. A sunken vessel provides a hard surface for animals like corals, sponges, and anemones to attach to. These, in turn, provide food and shelter for fish and other mobile creatures. A shipwreck can become an oasis of life, far richer than the surrounding muddy plain. A remarkable example of this is the wreck of the Endurance, Sir Ernest Shackleton's ship, which was crushed by ice and sank in the Weddell Sea in 1915. It was discovered in 2022, sitting upright on the seafloor nearly 2 miles down. It is in an almost perfect state of preservation. The reason the Endurance is so intact is due to the unique conditions of the Antarctic deep sea. The water is incredibly cold, and more importantly, there are no wood-boring organisms like shipworms in this part of the ocean. The tiny creatures that would normally devour a wooden hull simply do not exist here. As a result, the wreck has sat undisturbed for over a century, a ghostly monument in the dark. It has become home to a community of filter-feeding animals, but the structure of the ship itself remains. It is a fascinating example of how regional differences in deep-sea life can lead to vastly different outcomes. Perhaps the greatest single event in the life of the deep sea is a whale fall. When one of the ocean's giants dies, its colossal body, weighing many tons, sinks to the bottom. This is the largest single delivery of food that the deep sea will ever receive. It is a lottery win for the inhabitants of the abyss. The arrival of a whale carcass triggers a succession of ecological stages that can last for a century or more. It creates a rich and complex ecosystem, a bustling island of life that is completely different from the surrounding seafloor. It is the whale's final magnificent gift to the ocean. The first to arrive are the mobile scavengers. Sleeper sharks, hagfish, and giant isopods are drawn in from miles around by the scent of the decaying flesh. They gorge themselves on the soft tissues, stripping the carcass down to the bone in a matter of months. This is a time of frantic feasting, a rare opportunity for these animals to consume vast amounts of food. Once the flesh is gone, a new community takes over. Small worms and crustaceans colonize the bones and the enriched sediment around them, feeding on the remaining scraps of organic matter. This stage can last for several years. The final and longest stage is the most remarkable. Specialized bacteria begin to break down the lipids, or fats, stored within the whale's bones. They produce sulfur compounds as a byproduct. Other bacteria then use these sulfur compounds to create energy, in a process similar to what happens at hydrothermal vents. This process, called chemosynthesis, forms the base of a new food web that is independent of the sun. A dense community of mussels, clams, and tube worms, all containing these symbiotic bacteria, grows directly on the bones. This sulfur-loving stage can support a thriving community for up to 100 years. A single whale fall can become home to hundreds of different species, many of which are found nowhere else. These bone-eating Osedax worms, also known as zombie worms, are a perfect example. They drill into the bones to reach the nutrients inside. Whale falls may act as stepping stones for such creatures, allowing them to spread across the vast distances of the abyssal plain. The deep sea, a world so often defined by its emptiness and scarcity, shows us its true nature in these moments of incredible abundance. It is a world of surprising connections, profound beauty, and life that endures in the most extraordinary ways.